Hi guys, and welcome back to Hypershade Tutorials. In our last tutorial we were selecting the objects we want the player to be able to throw around in its game scene, and in today's tutorial, like you saw in the beginning of this video, we're going to be picking up the objects we highlighted and throw them around. So how do we identify objects that we could throw around? So first of all, we had marked them with a following tag, select object, and layer as select object as well. And we had just rigid bodies attached on them. That's fine. Now next thing we want to do is, before we actually start and code this stuff, we want to add a empty game object, which I've added already, onto the main player and call it pull object destination. Okay, so DES for short. And what you want to do is you want to actually add the new object. Let's do it together actually. So right click on your main player, create empty, call this pull object DES. It'll set it to its player's root position, so you want to drag it up to the hips area like I have, or I might just drag it a bit low as well. You might see some performance issues because I have Camtasia turned on. My PC is being absolute nightmarish with me, so I'm happy with that position for now because I don't want to waste time on it. You can adjust this position according to your preferences. Okay, so once you've done that, save it, open your script in Visual Studios, which is player object highlight. Once you've done that, let's crack on. I'm just going to quickly pause my video while the script loads. Right, so my script is open. Before we crack on, let's just quickly refresh our memories. The last thing we had was just our update function, and it fully had our raycast working. The last code piece we had in the raycast was, if our main selection is equal to none, which is the object we've selected is equals to nothing, change the material color back to default matte. Okay, so that just lets you know that your raycast has moved off that object. Let's go to the very top and let's just add one variable we need. So I'm going to put in the float over here, speed of drag. Okay, we'll go through that later on, but we need that for now. So let's come down here and let's define 3 new functions we're going to use. Please add this after we've put down the comment end of update. Let's also add another comment after this bracket here, which closes off the raycast, so lock raycast. We're going to put end of raycast. Okay, save. Come down here and let's add the functions we need. So public void player pick up object, and an open bracket and closing curly braces. That's one function down. Next one is public player let go object, open bracket, close bracket, open curly brace, and there we go. Next one done. Sorry, public void. Good stuff. Next one is public void object add force, and the last one is public void object to destination, like so. Right, let's start coding these functions, and then we'll add them into our update function so we can actually start dragging the objects and start throwing them. So in the first one where it says player pickup object, we want pull object ready equals true. I'll go through this once I've added the code in. Lock raycast is equals to true, and we're going to put a comment in here, and we're going to get object set object, and this just basically means we're going to get the object we have highlighted with our hit raycast, and we are going to make it a parent of something. And just to quickly refresh your memory on that, which is this section here, temp selection is the object which our raycast hits, and it sets that to the temp selection. So if we hit an object called wood, the raycast will hit that wood and put that into the temp selection variable. Okay, and in here all we're going to say is pull object, sorry, not pull object, temp selection dot transform dot set parent. What do we want this to become a parent of? And this is going to be pull object destination, like so. And then we're going to say rigid body main dot, I think it's called active gravity, or not, use gravity equals false. I'll explain this everything afterwards. And finally, throw power active equals false. So in the first function, what we've done is we've told the system that we are ready to pull this object. So we've clicked down on our mouse. We're going to do it afterwards. So we're clicking down on our mouse button. It'll activate the pull object ready, which means we are currently pulling an object and we want to do something once that's activated. We're going to deselect the raycast and make sure it's not highlighting objects once we have pulled something, so it locks off and we can't use it until we throw the object away. We're going to get the temp selection and we're going to get its transform and its set parent to the object we've made when the tutorial started, which is the pull object destination, so it'll become the child of that. So that basically means when we walk in the game world, the object will follow the player and it will stick to the player. We want to deactivate the rigid body, so we don't want to use any gravity while we're pulling it, because if it hits something it will start flying off into space. And throw power active is equals to false. So this is what the first part does. And in the next part, when we let go of the key, what do we want to do? We want to actually start applying force and chucking this away. So let's do the next. So over here I'm going to say rigid body dot main dot use gravity equals true. So once we let go of the key, set the gravity back to true, because the force is going to be added and we need the gravity to be equal to true, so when it flings off it drops back down eventually. Pull object destination dot set parent, sorry, not set parent, detach children. So that basically says, sorry, not this, transform dot detach children. That basically says the object we made parent previously, detach it and throw it away, simple as. Lock raycast is equals to false. This reactivates our raycast. Throw power active is going to be equals to a true. This is going to add the force for us. And pull object ready false. Alright, there we go. Let's add the force. So for the force we're going to say vector 3 pull direction equals, oh my lord, there we go, temp selection dot transform dot position minus cam, which we have made a variable above, which for our camera, dot transform dot position. So basically what this does is it's telling the system once we add the force to the object, we want the object to face the direction of the camera, so opposite that direction. So we want to throw it away from the camera, not towards it. Okay, that's all we're doing over here. We're going to say rigid body dot main dot add force at position, open bracket, pull direction dot normalized, times that by power throw or power speed, I think it was power throw. Okay, and then we're going to say pull push direction again. Did I call it pull or push? Yeah, I'll call it pull. That's fine. Let's just rename it actually. I don't like pull. It just doesn't make sense. Push direction, okay? So we're going to quickly change that. So push direction is going to be called like so. Alright, push direction. There we go. And then finally we're going to say force mode. What kind of force we want to apply to this, and I'm going to use impulse. close that off, and then over here I'm going to say throw power active equals false. So basically, once we throw the object away, we want to tell the system to deactivate the throw power active boolean, because we want the system to know we can no longer throw something because it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, and then finally we're gonna get the object and move it to its destination. So temp selection equals dot local position equals a vector3 dot lerp. We're going to move it smoothly. Open bracket. I'm going to say temp selection dot local position, comma, pull object destination. That's the destination we want to pull it to, like so. Dot transform dot local position, comma, a speed drag, how fast we want it to move. All we're doing here is with temp selection object, we want to get its local position, and we want to take its local position to pull object destination's local position, so it equals the same area. Okay, now let's start applying these. So underneath here we're going to say add a new comment. We're going to call this pull object to destination. Next one's going to be drop object, and next one's going to be add force to object. The last one's going to be pull object to destination, and let's change the first one because that's incorrect. This is select object and move. Okay, lovely stuff. Now let's start adding the code in for this. So for the first one, we're going to say if open bracket close bracket open curly brace and closing curly brace, if input dot get key down, open bracket key code dot mouse button 0, mouse 0, sorry, not button, and temp selection is equals dot tag is equals to selected object, close in bracket, do something. So basically what we're saying here is if we click down on our mouse button and the right object is selected, do something. If it isn't, then don't do nothing. It's just error checking. Okay, if it's selected the right object, do the following. So once we've selected the right object, what we want to do is we want to call the first function here. I was actually going to retype the same code and I had forgotten I made the functions down here. So that's the first function we'll call. Let's set the next function to use. So in here, which is drop object, I'm going to say if input dot get key up, open bracket close bracket, key code dot mouse 0, okay, and temp selection is not equals to null. So if we currently have something selected, and temp selection dot tag is equals to selected object, do something. Close in brackets and you open braces, and inside here we're going to call the other function, which is player let go object, like so. Put that in here. There we go. And closing semicolon. I do apologize. I believe my Camtasia is making my system really slow for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Next part is to call the gravity. So we're going to say if open bracket temp selection dot tag is equals to selected object, do something. Okay, so we're going to say if that's the case, and lock raycast is equals to false, and throw power active is equals to true, do something. Okay, so what we're saying here is if the selected object is the object we have stored in our selected object string, and the raycast is currently equals to false, which is true, and then the throw power is active, do something. So these conditions must be met before we can throw it. And inside here I'm going to call object add force. So this is now going to add force to the object. Closing semicolon. And for the last one, it's quite simple as if open bracket close bracket open curly brace and closing curly brace. And I'm going to say power, sorry, what did I call that one? Throw power active equals true, do something. And inside here we're going to call this function object to destination. Open bracket close bracket and a closing semicolon. And that's incorrect function. That's the incorrect boolean we're calling. Apologies. This is going to be pull object ready. And that's it. That's all the code that goes behind it. This is going to be double equals. Apologies. I've got my insert on. Let me turn that off. That's the code behind it. Lovely stuff. I'm just going to quickly save this. And I'm going to go into Unity and we'll test it out. I'm just going to pause the video because it's going to compile the script, and that takes about 10 to 15 seconds. Alright, we are back into Unity. Before we do anything, let's reselect the main player. Let's scroll down and find our player object highlight script. And where it says pull object destination, you want to drag in your destination object. And we should be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect the player because it's going to cause some jitteriness, because I've got this camera which follows the player and they'll get affected by that. So I don't want to show you that when running the game. It just looks like it's currently constantly lagging, which is not the case. So just going to make sure we're recording back on. I have, yeah. So there we go. We're back onto the game. We can select the object, still highlights as it's supposed to. And now if I click my mouse button down, we should be able to drag this. But before we do that, I need to show you. If you quickly come back onto the player, you need to set the values for your speed of drag and power throw. So I'm going to leave my power throw to 2 and speed of drag I'm going to set to 0.3 will be alright for me. Okay, and let's test it now. So I'm going to click it and let's see what happens. There we go. Object flies towards the pull object destination. Now if you note where it says pull object destination, you can see an arrow next to it. That means a drop down. So this current object has become a child of that. Okay, so now if I look at a certain object or a certain wall, this object should fly towards that if I let go of it. So I'm going to let go of my mouse button. Let's see what happens. I'm looking up, I'm looking towards that wall there. Let's see what happens. There you go. So the object flies directly towards the direction you're looking at. And as you can see, what I was telling about the player lag thing. So if I have the player selected, because the camera's following it non-stop, it lags it out. So I'm going to quickly pause it and deselect that. Alright, we're back. Just give it a couple of seconds. Camtasia will make my system freeze. There we go. That's much better. Now it looks like it's moving freely, okay? So I'm going to reselect it, and then you can throw it where you want to throw it. Same again, throw it where you want to throw it. So I'm going to walk forward a bit. It's actually really impacting my performance today. It's quite bad. So I'm going to throw this one on top of here. Okay. there you go, it works. And next time we're going to be adding the animations for it. So when we have dragged the object to its destination, we want certain animations to play. Okay, new walk back, left and right, and throw. And I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching. And before you do decide to click off, please do subscribe and share this video, and stay tuned to the end of the video, because I'm going to show you a little sneak peek of what's yet to come for future tutorial series. And I hope you are excited as much as I am. Thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy.